Yeah, I mean, look, I think new consoles, they're going to sell. There's no doubt about that. The cloud, we think, is still up there in the sky, and we like the look of it, but we can't always touch it and taste it. What do we think about 5G as a given that we're broadcasting this from the UK, and the UK is deciding what 5G solution it wants at the moment because it's got tangled up in some row about China or something. What do we think about 5G as a game? I mean, as a true game changer, actually, in our area.
5G is yet again another massively oversold network technology with a whole load of disinformation around it. And it is astonishing to me every time I hear someone turn around and say 5G is going to fix all of my worldly problems with internet, because it absolutely isn't, certainly not in any near future. I think the 5G is incredible. It is an entire implementation from device all the way to the core of the cloud for network connectivity, interoperability, how we move data around. And its performance is leaps and bounds ahead of what we have today with 4G, if you can get it. But it is going to take us years to build out the kind of coverage and the kind of connectivity that matters for it to affect our day-to-day internet connectivity, for example. I have a 4G phone, and my 4G phone, if I'm roaming around in a decent location, I can get 100 megabits per second on it. It's not like 4G is a poor performer. What it can be is it's not got the greatest latency. It can be spiky and peaky. And 5G, one of the key things about 5G is not, I can go even faster. And it's, in some ways, it's not even about lower latency. It's about, I can connect more devices. I can have more things talking to it, because that's where things are starting to fall over at the moment. We've got too many devices trying to use the same pieces of infrastructure at the same time. What 5G is going to really unlock is I can connect tens of thousands of devices at the same time. And that's important, particularly for things like autonomous driving, for connectivity, for being able to roam and move around. Is it going to change our world of gaming overnight magically? No, it's not. It's not going to, I don't think we're going to see anything meaningful with 5G connectivity for us in the games ecosystem world for a number of years, because at the end of the day, all it's allowing me to do is connect better, but it doesn't change the fact that if I go on the underground in London, I can't get a signal. It doesn't change the fact that if I'm on the train between here and London, my signal drops in and out every 5 seconds, right? Unless somebody's about to replace all of our existing infrastructure and build a whole load more, we're still going to have those same problems. And that's true in the US. It's true all over Europe. There are spots where we can get better connectivity, but it's not about to change our coverage maps anytime soon.
So that's interesting. And that kind of reels back to, why the console manufacturers go, well, we can't wait for the world to catch up. We need our own little world that makes the device that delivers the experience that Shahid talked about right at the beginning, which was rich and immersive. And, it's almost like you can't look at the big picture in games as a platform, because the world's not ready for it. And arguably that's kind of why we end up with sort of the same as we've ever had, but just slightly better, I guess. That's it, isn't it? That's evolution rather than revolution, I suppose. Shahid, what's your view on the kind of cloud and things like that?
Cloud or 5G or?
Well, a bit of both, really.
Okay, well, let's start with cloud. If Bruce starts laughing, then you'll know I know absolutely nothing about it. So I feel a bit daft talking about the cloud when Bruce is here. But I still think it's going to take a while. One of the issues that we had difficulties with when I was at PlayStation and I was not part of this. There was a separate team on Gaikai and PS Now and so on, was infrastructure. And because PlayStation's such a global company, Xbox has traditionally been stronger in English-speaking countries, but PlayStation has always had a really, really good presence in Europe and elsewhere in the world as well, Middle East, and so on. Ensuring that you had good enough infrastructure to support cloud gaming everywhere was really tough. Yes, you can build your data centers wherever you like, but you cannot necessarily get a good speed to the home. And if you can, not everyone can afford it in every part of the world. And for PlayStation, it was very important to make sure that the experience was broadly comparable across all territories. Otherwise, don't do it at all.
Yeah.
So that's still an issue. One of the upsides of 5G, you see what I did there?
Brilliant.
Is that you can just jump straight away from cable and move to a wireless infrastructure immediately. So for emerging markets, it becomes something that you can rely on. The downside there, of course, is the expense. Yeah, especially for the customer. If you're going to be capped in terms of data, there's no point having a fast pipe if the tap turns off after 2 seconds, right? So that's a problem. So it requires a business model that is affordable in emerging markets. And this is just emerging markets, never mind over here. But not just affordable for the customer, but a way for the network operators to actually make some money out of. And that's not easy. That's a huge challenge. But when it does happen, it will happen. And Bruce is absolutely right. It's going to be years before this thing becomes prevalent. When costs come down, I would imagine that before we even see cable in a lot of countries, we'll see 5G or the equivalent, whatever that happens to be at the time. And that's when things will become a lot more interesting. That's when you'll have much better global connected infrastructure. You'll have
Starlink,
more of a level playing field than you do at the moment.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, dare I mention, Bruce has already mentioned Stadia, but one of the biggest companies on the planet, Google, or Alphabet as they're strictly known nowadays. I mean, where do we see that going? Is it? Let me be provocative. Is it going to be another Google playing at it and kind of it fizzles out? Because we've had this with Google Glass and stuff like this. Or is it going to be? Is it going to be an addition? Is it going to be to the landscape for choice in terms of an audience and content, or what? I'm confused by Stadia.
My take is, and it sort of goes right back to the beginning. And funny enough, it's like constantly evolving thinking about this, right? I mean, as we said at the beginning, I've been doing the cloud gaming for a long time, and I haven't personally, from a lot of the offerings that are out there, seen anything that's really going to change the way they're offering content and games at the moment. And what Stadia's done is they have the money to build the infrastructure, and they have to build a lot of infrastructure, right? It's, as Shahid said, it is an incredible amount of infrastructure that has to be built to serve a large audience so that they can all reach it. And one of the challenges, and sort of it talks to the 5G point, but generally network in general, generally sort of our networks and our infrastructure is, I'm here and I have a great network, right? I have more than 300 megabits a second, everything's golden. And yet half a mile up the road, I know people that can barely get 20 megabits a second. And if I want to join, to exactly Shahid's point earlier, I want to join my friends in a gaming ecosystem, I want to be in the same ecosystem as them. And if I'm dependent on that additional tier that is not just, do they have the game I want to play? Are we all playing the same game? But do we also have access to the infrastructure that allows us to play it? All of a sudden, buying a box is a pretty easy decision, right? If I know that if we all have the same box, we can all play the same game together, that makes the ecosystem, and that's what the ecosystem's about. And Stadia has One problem, which is it's not really offering any new content. What's the difference between me going to Stadia, between me going to an Xbox? There's actually fewer games there. And are my friends able to jump onto that same ecosystem? Because if I can't play with them, do I actually want to be there?
Yeah.
That's a big challenge for that kind of build.